Once upon a time, in a village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, there lived a girl named Ṣọlá. Now, Ṣọlá had a peculiar habit of exaggerating her intelligence. You know, like saying she was smarter than her teachers, or that she could outrun the swiftest antelope. One sunny afternoon, Ṣọlá skipped home from school, humming a happy tune. As she strolled through the market, she noticed an old woman sitting by a stall, drumming softly on what looked like an ordinary calabash. The sound wasn't anything special, just a simple thump-thump, but Ṣọlá was intrigued. So she stopped by the stall and asked the old woman, "Hey, why don't you play something nice on that drum?" The old woman just smiled mysteriously and replied, "Oh, this drum doesn't play just any song. It speaks only to those who possess quick wit and sharp intelligence." Ṣọlá thought, "Perfect. This is my chance to show everyone how smart I am." She puffed up her chest and declared, "Well, I'm pretty clever, so go ahead and ask me your riddles and questions. I'm sure I'll ace them all." The old woman nodded and tapped the calabash. "Very well then. First question. What has an eye but cannot see?" Before Ṣọlá could answer, a deep voice boomed from the calabash to needle, and everyone around gasped in surprise. They couldn't believe that a talking drum was giving answers. Ṣọlá felt a mix of shock and triumph. She quickly recovered and exclaimed, "Of course, I knew that. A needle has an eye but cannot see." The crowd clapped politely, but some exchanged confused glances. They couldn't understand why Ṣọlá was so eager to take the challenge, if she already knew the answer. The old woman continued, "All right, next question. What has a neck without a head?" Again, before Ṣọlá could jump in with her answer, the calabash spoke a bottle. Once more, the crowd was stunned into silence. They turned to Ṣọlá, waiting for her to explain. She cleared her throat and said, "Well, a bottle has a neck, but obviously it doesn't have a head. That's common sense, isn't it?" Some people nodded slowly, but their faces still held a hint of disbelief. They were starting to think that maybe Ṣọlá was just lucky with her answers. The old woman decided not to push her luck any further. Instead, she stopped the questioning and said to Ṣọlá, "You certainly know quite a bit, child. This drum usually tests those it speaks to, but since you've shown some knowledge, I'll be generous. Take the drum with you and keep it. It will prove to be a valuable asset when you need wisdom and guidance." Ṣọlá couldn't believe her fortune. She thanked the old woman profusely and took the calabash home, all the while bragging about her incredible intelligence. She showed it off to her family and friends, telling them how she had outwitted a talking drum. Naturally, they were impressed by her story and praised her for being so smart. But secretly, they were also a bit skeptical. They knew Ṣọlá had a knack for embellishing the truth. So they wondered if she had really outsmarted a talking drum. One day, Ṣọlá was carrying the calabash to the market. She was excited to show it to her classmates and tell them how she had tricked the drum. But little did she know that her troubles were about to start. As she walked, she began to sing, "I'm so smart, I'm so clever. I outsmarted a talking drum, you see." Suddenly, the calabash fell from her hands and landed on the ground. Startled, she bent down to pick it up. But instead of saying a kind word or two, the calabash shouted, "What? Do you think I'm stupid? Just because you can carry me doesn't mean you're smart. Let me show you who's really clever here." Then it started to rain heavily, and the sky rumbled with thunder. Frightened, Ṣọlá ran to her school, which was nearby, and hid under a tree. The calabash sat on the ground, still taunting her, "Oh, so brave, hiding under a tree during a storm. I guess being smart isn't all that useful after all." Ṣọlá wanted to defend herself, but she couldn't come up with a clever comeback. Just then, a boy named Kola walked past. He saw Ṣọlá and asked, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you sitting here all alone in the rain?" Ṣọlá explained about the talking calabash and how it was making fun of her. Kola couldn't believe his ears. He had heard stories about Ṣọlá's boasting, and he thought it was finally happening. But then Ṣọlá turned to him with tears in her eyes and pleaded, "Please help me. I don't want to be called stupid anymore." Kola felt sorry for her. He knew that being teased could be really hurtful. So he asked the calabash, "Can I try talking to you?" Ṣọlá nodded, hoping that Kola would have better luck than her. Kola closed his eyes and thought for a moment. Then he said, "Well, this is a very tricky situation. I wonder how to solve this." Ṣọlá and the calabash were both surprised by his response. They didn't expect him to admit that it was a tough question. The calabash continued, "So let's see if you can answer this. What has a mouth but cannot speak?" Kola pondered for a bit, scratching his head. Then he confidently answered, "That's easy. It's a river." The calabash fell silent. It hadn't expected such a simple answer, yet it was right. Genuinely surprised, the calabash asked, "How did you know that?" Kola shrugged. "It just seemed like the obvious answer to me," he replied. The calabash was stunned. It had never encountered someone who didn't try to show off or trick it. It was used to people trying to impress it with their knowledge. But Kola's humility surprised it. After a long pause, the calabash finally spoke again. "Well, this is unexpected. I haven't met anyone like you before. Normally, people just boast and try to outsmart me, but you seem different. You're not afraid to admit when you don't know something." Kola smiled and said, "Well, there's no shame in not knowing something. The important thing is to learn and grow from it, don't you think?" The calabash nodded slowly. It had never thought of it that way before. It had always been so focused on testing people's knowledge that it had forgotten the real purpose of wisdom, which was to learn and grow. From that day on, the calabash became a cherished friend to Kola. It shared its wisdom with him whenever he needed it, and they had a wonderful bond. Meanwhile, Ṣọlá realized the error of her ways. She understood that her pride and boasting had made people stop believing in her. She learned a valuable lesson that day, and it changed her behavior. From then on, she was a different person, more humble and honest. And so the story of Ṣọlá and the talking drum serves as a reminder for us all. Don't let pride and arrogance make us lose the trust of others. Sometimes what we think is cleverness can actually be our downfall, but true wisdom lies in knowing our limitations and being humble enough to learn from others. Thank you for listening. Now I want to ask you, have you ever been like Ṣọlá, thinking you're smarter than you actually are? Share your experiences in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now. We have lots of other amazing stories to share with you. Until next time, stay curious and keep believing in the power of stories.